good week. It's such a beautiful Tuesday here, so I hope it is beautiful and sunny wherever you are too. I wanted to hop on. I have some really exciting news that I want to share with everybody. Um, just some new goodness to bring to the work that we're already doing with the emotion code, but also, y'all know, and especially those of you who are in light workers, because we talk about this all the time. I love anything that's going to help us be who we came here to be, get rid of what's, in the way and has been holding us back, and helps us really step into being able to create like what we want from life, right? Whether it is the dream home, it is the abundance, it's the beautiful family, it's the amazing career, whatever that is. So this past weekend, I actually went and did and finished a facilitator training for a new modality. So some of you may be familiar with it. I know a couple of you have had experiences with this in the past. And so I just want to share really what it does, kind of give you an idea of how it can be used, and then kind of what my take is on it. So kind of like with the emotion code, there's the way, right, that you're trained to do the emotion code and the way that it shows up. But then there's also really the way that we tend to use it in our group and kind of the twist, right, that each practitioner puts on it. So kind of the same thing with this modality. So this particular one is called Psych-K. And just to give you an idea of how it works and what it is, it's this really quick way to reprogram subconscious beliefs. And so for a lot of us, right, we've talked about how our beliefs get programmed when we have these specific traumas that show up. We have these experiences or family beliefs, ancestral stuff. It could be past life stuff, just all of these things that feed into our subconscious. And they really lay there buried, and we react from those places, whether we're aware of them or not, every single day, every minute of every day. And so y'all know from doing the emotion code and doing sessions that a lot of times that's what I base what we're working on, is what is the belief that's held there, because it helps us see what energy is stuck there, what you need to do to shift that, and it helps give you clarity, right? So the great part about this is that now we have a tool to be able to reprogram the subconscious with a higher vibrational belief, a belief that is empowering to you, a belief that speaks to you all day long about where you're headed and what you want from life. And so instead of constantly being stuck, right, in that loop that we get in where we're like affirming to ourselves, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, but things are not really lining up on the outside because our subconscious still has doubt about it. This is a way to use some specific brain balances to reprogram that. So the energy that's going out says I'm worthy, and your outside world starts, responding to it and showing up that way, and you feel that way, which is huge. So Christine says, subconscious belief reprogramming has been coming up for me all over these days. It is so powerful, isn't it? Like being able to say, this is what I want to feel about myself. This is how I want to view the world. And then to have a tool that can help you really create that in your energy, in your mind, so that you're not fighting it all of the time. Like that's huge. And the truth is that opens us up to so much potential and possibility, right? Because it literally then becomes the game of what do I want to create in my life? And that to me is probably why I'm so in love with this particular modality, is that it's you release and you heal and you do all of these things, and then you get to this space, right, where you're like, what do I want to create with my life? Like, what do I want this experience to look like, to feel like, to be? And it becomes this really fun experience of being alive. And this is one of the ways that can help us create more powerfully, more impactfully, without all of our other debris in the way. Another thing that it can do is in this process, right, of healing pain and experiences and traumas and all of these things that we have all been through, is that it can help us let go of that on another level. So y'all know that's why I love emotion code and body code is because it really helps us clear that out of our energy. So this is another tool to help us do that. And there are different, yes, Christine, there are different techniques that I did learn to be able to do this. They're very much in line with muscle testing, and they're based in the same things that like brain balancing. So if you've ever had a child or a loved one who's had to do brain balancing, where they do the specific techniques, and these are techniques that have been used for over 30 years. But what it does is it helps sync both sides of both hemispheres of the brain so that everybody's on the same page, right? So that your logical side and your intuitive side are speaking the same language, they're able to communicate, and you can move forward in alignment with those empowering beliefs or those goals that you are headed towards. So during the training this weekend, we did lots and lots of muscle testing and working on these specific techniques and balances. And so it is a little, the difference between this and the emotion code, I would say, as far as somebody who is doing it in a session, is that in the emotion code, right, you're sitting there, you're being present, you're being witnessed, you're digging into your own feelings, that type of thing. This one is very similar, but you have an active part in it. So there are specific positions that you use, specific visualizations that you use to sync everything up, and to be able to integrate the new belief. So it's just something that you're guided through, but it's super easy. It's so powerful, and it can happen, the change can happen like that. One of the things that I did find like super interesting that I know y'all will love because y'all are my people, is that when I was doing them myself and we were balancing certain things, there were specific topics that I had been aware of for a long time, but not, you know how sometimes you just can't get to like the core of it, and you're just kind of like, I know there's something here that I need to work on to heal, to like shift. There's a shift that needs to happen, but I don't know why or what's at the core of it and what is causing it. And so meditated, been with it, sat with it, done all the things. And what was so amazing is that what I found was when I was doing one of the particular balances to integrate the new belief, the answer came like freaking lightning, like just like that. And it was nothing that I would ever have caught. It's nothing that I would have probably seen or thought of. And as soon as the information came in while I was in the balance, I was like, okay, it makes sense now. This is why this is happening. The other thing that happened during that specific balance for me personally was that when I was in it, my husband's higher self showed up in it to walk me through it. And that to me was like one of the most beautiful gifts, right? Because I was able to get the support and the perspective of what had been planned a long time before we even got here. And so it made what I had been like, you know, what I had been like afraid of or worried about or having trouble letting go of, like why it had happened and the beauty behind it. So sometimes you have visuals and the images come together and it just brings together like this whole reflection of what you've experienced, why you've experienced it, and what's on the other side or what the shift is going to be. Sometimes there's nothing and you just sit and you just integrate it and you feel it energetically. There are other times where, and this is like one of my favorite parts, it's so cool, but there's one of the balances where your arms actually become a timeline. And so when you're clearing, they're going to move towards each other during the integration piece. But if they go backwards, then you're clearing ancestral and past life stuff. And so they move on their own, and it is a very subconscious thing as it's integrating, which is really incredible to, you know, to experience yourself. And as it's doing that, it's like it's clearing all of the timelines to bring it all together so that you can integrate and embody it. And so it's just incredible. And it's one of those things that, you know, the shifts that can happen can be so profound. And sometimes when you're clearing and you're working towards integrating some bigger beliefs, you'll start to see things kind of shifting and connecting, and it can take some time to line up as well. But one of the immediate shifts that I noticed is I have been putting off printing these receipts for, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, it's been like over a year. I've been like putting them over here. I'll deal with them later. And they've been in my email box, and I hate my email box having anything in it. there was over 100, and it was just busy and just was like, we don't want to do that right now. So some of the balances, there's like specific lists we can work with too, and some of them are like, prosperity, self-esteem, spirituality, a whole bunch. Well, one of them that we must have hit on, and I'm not sure which one it was, impacted that specific thing that I was putting off, because when I came home that Monday, I literally was like, I'm just gonna print these. Like, I'm not gonna screenshot all this stuff and put it in QuickBooks. Like, that's gonna take too long. I don't feel like doing that. And I literally had it all done within maybe 45 minutes. But that's kind of like the shift, right? Like the little things, and I didn't notice it, and it wasn't a conscious decision to do this because I had done the balances. It just happened because there was no, whatever trigger was around it, or whatever overwhelm or procrastination there was there that had been putting it off, was just released. So it really is something you can create, these empowering beliefs around anything. It's like, literally, do you want to create your reality? How do you want to experience it? And the safeguard with this is because with muscle testing, right, we're testing your basically your higher self. And so we're making sure that whatever statement we come up with that you want to integrate and embody, that it serves your higher self. So it's not like you could put something in and integrate something that wouldn't serve you in any way. Now, there are two specific balances that get done. It just depends on what you need at which time. And they're both a little bit different. One is where you're clearing the timelines and you're integrating it. And the other is where you're sitting and you're moving through what you're experiencing. And so sometimes, right, the emotions come up and you're just going to be with it, and it's going to allow it to shift and to move. And there's a moment where there is like this breakthrough, and you feel on the other side what has been waiting for you, right? So you can process a lot of stuff really quickly, which is incredibly beautiful. And I find that the emotion and body code work so well with it, because there are times, right, where we do need to just clear the energy field. But this is like next step. And then what do we do, right? How do we want to feel? What do we want to create? And y'all heard me talk before about sometimes we have these inherited beliefs or these past life beliefs we bring in, and we don't really have a framework for feeling any different. And that can be tricky because we're like trying to create a feeling or an experience or a belief without any like foundation to it, is what it feels like. This is a way to create a foundation, right? And it's super quick. So there are, like I said, a couple of lists that we can work with, but you can work with anything that you personally want to, change or shift. And so it's just a matter of sitting down, discussing how you're feeling, how you'd rather feel instead, and then working through the process. The lists that I do have are on, and I can read these to you just so you have an idea, because if you're like, I want to work on this, but I'm not really sure what this would look like we can figure that out. That's okay. You don't have to know what you want to believe coming into it. You're welcome to, but we can also create that during a session. But there's on prosperity, health and body, which is an amazing one, self-esteem, grief and loss, personal power, spirituality, and relationships. And there's also another list that really has to do with being in harmony with nature and like the principles of nature. And so it's just really about, knowing when enough is enough and being able to live in harmony and balance and those types of things. So just depending on what you want to create, right? What do you want to experience? Now, there is also one technique in here too, if you have traumatic experiences that they're still charged. So this would be something I would say in addition to emotion and body code. It'd be one of those things that what I would personally do, because I love emotion code and body code, is muscle test to see which serves you best personally. But there's also a way to release situations. So stuff that you've experienced, you felt trauma that's still held in the body, and it's a really quick way to do that. Anxiety, depression, all of those types of things. But it's such a huge tool for the work that we do in this group and the work that we're doing as a community and as a collective. And it puts us in charge of what we're going to create, right? We're going to experience what we're going to bring to the world, especially right now, which is so important. And there are like these few things, right? There's these few like beliefs that I was telling somebody today. I'm like, they're divine rights. Like, we're supposed to be feeling these things. we don't have to earn these things, right? But most of us don't feel. So things like I am safe or I am worthy, right? I'm seen, or it's safe to be seen, or it's safe to be heard. So there's so many things that just if you did foundational, like these are the foundational pieces that you wanted to do, it could shift so much in your life, right? The way that you show up, how safe it feels for you to show up as yourself in your purpose, in your family as who you are. But also if you've got illness or something like that that you're working on, it is a way to identify what is causing that and correct it as well and help support that healing. If you're working on your purpose and your spirituality, this part is so much fun. It's limitless there, right? So some of the stuff for spirituality, which is like super fun, is like I love my higher self and my higher self loves me, right? That is about being able to connect to your higher self and being able to trust that guidance that's coming in. So this is something we actually talked about yesterday in Lightworkers. So when I saw this one on the list, I was like, okay, this right here, right? How do I claim my sovereignty? But there's also a few other statements like, I am a necessary part of the divine plan, or I embrace and accept my highest level of divine gifts, right? There's so many aspects of being able to create with your purpose here too, and to make it feel safe to show up fully as who you are. So I wanted to share that with y'all. I also want to share, so I did a session with Beautiful Soul yesterday, and so we checked, like, I know what their frequency normally is, and I was like, okay, let's just see the difference, right? We didn't do any emotion code, body code, we just did this, and we were like, let's just see what the difference is frequency-wise, because changing beliefs is a big deal. And it went up almost 300 points more, which is huge, right? I mean, that's a huge shift. So that piece is going to be really exciting to see what happens with frequencies as people are doing this too. So that is something that's going to be, it's here, it's available, friends. We can do it. We can do a mix of this. We can do a mix of emotion code, whatever serves you, whatever feels good to you. But if you're ready to shift, right, the beliefs that you're holding, if you're ready to create something that's more empowering, speaks more to who you are and what you want from life, this is a phenomenal tool to do that. But if y'all have any questions about this, if you're curious how it would work for a specific thing, y'all know y'all can always message me. You can always comment. I'm happy to answer any questions and, to be talking about this more and how it ties in so perfectly, like with what we're doing. But I wanted to hop on. I wanted to share that with you guys. And if y'all need anything, you know where to find me, friends, and I will talk to y'all later.